Right, let's see if we can get in through. I've got a load of Q&A. We'll see if we can get through some of them anyway. Kim has to figure out a way to fund these projects so that people can get things done. Kim's been working 16, 18 hours a day for the last few years to try and do that. It's not our fault or her fault in any way, shape or form as to why it's not out. It's all down to the blocking. Governments are out for themselves only, and as time goes by I'm seeing that Trump is part of the swamp. And it's getting pretty obvious now. This is why I think that the project funding for the people is critical right now. Yes, it is, and that doesn't change from one day to the next. We have tried to solicit help from within the government. We're still waiting on that. Perhaps that waiting period is over, and we will carry on working around them. But please don't put further pressure on Kim. Like I said, 16, 18 hours a day for zero pay. Would you do that? I'm sure you wouldn't. So we are trying everything, and we've made a lot of progress. But there's still, like in many other cases, this system on all levels goes very deep and very far, and it's got tentacles everywhere. We've cleared a lot of them out, and one day we'll clear all of them out and the transfers will go through unhindered, and they won't be able to stop it. But until that day, we will carry on working. What procedures do advanced civilizations use to combine PSI fields on a planetary scale? Sport events, concerts or mass meditations only involve a fraction of the planetary's population at best. Those three generally solicit looshing, not combining PSI fields. As for combining PSI fields, it's about people acquiring a certain level of frequency, a higher level of frequency, and finding like-minded people. This is what we talk about, the circles of influence. If we have 50,000 THIs all over the world, there'll be circles dotted all over the map. Eventually those circles start to overlap, and that's how you come combined. There's a lot of people who think very similar, not all the same, as we're not all the same within THI. That is as close as to a combined PSI field as you will find. Why are the normal humans more ahead, more capable than the parent families, especially when our human DNA has been much more manipulated than the DNA of the parent families, human 1.0? It depends on where you're coming at. The question's rather vague. Are we more ahead, more capable? Some are, most aren't. Do we have the ability to be more ahead and more capable? Absolutely. And this is what this show and many other people around the world are trying to do, and empower humanity. The parents' roles were much different. In essence, they were slaves, told to look after us or interfere, was more the case. So it depends on where you're coming from. But we're not more ahead, more capable as it stands, but we do have the capability to be so. I've heard about a story that was a cover for what the governor of California was really building tunnels so the Mexican cartel could continue trafficking people across the border. Tunnels completed and covered, and the BET project then cancelled. Have you heard any difference? Well, there was lots of tunnels that were being ran by prominent politicians and gangs, and they are working together. Some of those 4 families we mentioned are working with MS-13 and also the FARC guerrillas. Cash cow, you see. Guns, drugs, you name it. Children. That's how it works. Would you recommend that we have protection, i.e. a gun? That's a personal choice, it always is. You know, a lot depends on the environment and the where you live as to whether you should acquire a gun. I would weigh up the conditions that and where you're living. But you know, it's I would never tell people to go out and buy guns unless it was absolutely essential. I would never tell people, even more so, to give up guns either, because essentially that's what saved us. Otherwise they would have gone right through the whole of America by now, like they did in Russia, like they did in Turkey and Croatia the minute they gave up their guns, like they did in Britain. All the countries that gave up the guns got assassinated on a massive scale. How should soul development be included in our early 12 years of education, of intellectual, text and physical development, even advanced degrees of psychic magic abilities, like the Xavier Institute for Higher Learning of Professor Xavier and the X-Men? I don't think that is suitable for the majority of children in the first 12 years of what needs to be replacing education with teaching, because education means training of animals, and that's about the level it's at. As kids nowadays have been denied even the basics. You know, they need a calculator to add up. Really, that's not helping them, is it? That's pushing them into using machines, technology outside of them, when they've got a calculator within their head. So, the type of stuff you're talking about, I would introduce after 16. I don't see the point of going to school to 18 like they do in America. Quite frankly, the kids who left school at 13 100 years ago know 10 times more than a current child. And I mean 10. Go and look at the tests from 1880. Of children who were leaving aged 13. Now, it's leaving at 18 and they know far less than the kids 100 years ago. So this type of development, intellectual development, is for children or young adults of 16 and above, of those who are interested in it, because not everyone comes in switched on. That may increase over time as more and more of the children, more and more of them are getting shut down by labelling them ADHD. There's nothing wrong with those children except they can't adjust to the frequency here, that is all. As they get to puberty, they are better able to manage the frequency and adapt, providing you're not drugging them. Is it adding to the previous revelation of an atomic attack in Russia in the 1800s? Was the Tunguska event on Siberia 1908 and the Chelyabinsk event near the Ural Mountains in 2013 potential attacks on the reforming Rus people, or were they as stated airburst events caused by unstable meteorites exploding above the surface? The second one, of course, we've all seen the videos. There's an object and something fires at it and it breaks up. It may well have been a meteorite. It could also have been a craft. There was certainly another aerial object in that video. So that's debatable. Now, the Tunguska could well have been a rock throwing event, and the Earth has a hidden system that fires at incoming objects, and that's what happened. That's why the object at Tunguska in 1908 exploded in the sky. The laser system, and I did say laser, came up out of the ground and fired blue lasers at the object, whatever it was, and it exploded. And then that laser system went back into the ground, undetected. But the residents around the area saw it. Well, hope that helps out. Could we somehow provide a template designed for a voluntary sign-up list by state of those members who would like to take THI to the next level and meet in person? It's already been done. Lacey Eckert, I hope I said that right, has been creating THIs by the states, and some of the members have met up recently and all got on rather well, and it's from my perspective, it's pleasing to hear and see. So maybe contact Lacey on the Facebook page or on MeWe, and you can get involved in whatever state you're involved in. You may be the first in that state, so it's up to you to create THI, whatever state you come from. It's about expanding the circles. But one thing I would like to say is, please don't be adding me to the group. I have far too much to do. The Zoom, if something comes up, there's always Zoom calls done monthly intervals that maybe things could be brought up in the Zoom calls. But I can't take any more sites on. I've got enough as it is. But I'm pleased that people want to feel they can do more and get involved and then meet like-minded people, which is always helpful as well. So contact Lacey. I'll have to leave that for a minute. There's a number on Tartaria. Were the Tartary countries people from the island you spoke of? Well, the island went down continent. It wasn't an island. 110,000 years ago. The Tartar people were from between 1,000 and 1600 roughly, and then suddenly they started to be wiped off the map. I imagine there's pockets of them here and there still alive, and the oral history passed down. But the Rus went into all the Slavic countries, and extended out to Poland and Austria and you name it, even Germany. Blue-eyed blondes, you see. That's where it came from. Was Grand Tartaria nation wiped from history to cover the teachings? Yes, absolutely. That's what they do. What do you think about marijuana now being a negative plant, where it has changed over for the past 10 years or so from being a positive spiritual plant? I know this will upset many people that smoke pot, but it's not a positive spiritual plant. Well, let me rephrase that. If it's smoked, it's not a positive spiritual plant. If it's used in other forms without the, I always forget the 3 letters, TCP or something, it's fine. Hemp has a lot of good use, but marijuana brings in the spirit world. That is not a positive for the vast majority of people on this planet, like 99%. And so, for the smokers of it, it's a very negative plant. It also dulls the brain, which is not a good thing. But people like it. And who am I to say you can't or you shouldn't? It's your choice. But I will warn of the dangers. You're playing with fire, and the smoking element of it is the least beneficial of that plant. How do you get rid of gallons? Is there a cure for it? Not that I understand. I asked this question, and the answer I got back was pour vinegar on it, which is like a mild acid. Most viruses don't like extremes. So I would try some vinegar on it. Now, one person who saw improvement, that was back in 2014 and 15. Whether it was because of the vinegar or they were doing some other herbal stuff, I don't know. But, going to the doctors don't believe it exists, as many have found out. But I would try that. A mild acid, or some sort of where you can put your, if it's on, it depends where it is. If it's on your forearm, you could smoke it out. The danger is it could go back in. But if you try and smoke it out where it comes away from the skin, and then get tweezers and pull the thing out, that might help also. How many times I've answered this type of question. Shouldn't the peace treaty apply to most of those on the surface of the planet, as very few are truly native to the planet? In other words, does the peace treaty apply to anything with 46 chromosomes and 48 chromosomes? Indicates what is actually truly native to the planet. No, it applies to all beings. The peace treaty, I've said this multiple times now, it applies to all beings. There is a bigger issue where some beings have an advantage over us. They are more stringent. Human to human issues are things that we have to solve. Other beings attacking us is not allowed under the peace treaty, and they're not allowed to play games either. As certain Smokies found out last week, they paid a heavy price for interfering with Kim and I, and they won't be returning. So the peace treaty was enforced. But I wish people will stop looking for angles as the Peace Treaty is some saviour programme, and that allows galactics to come down and sweep people up. It's only in extreme circumstances that takes place. And as you said, don't mistake it for a you come and save us, but technically it is. There's been a number of these type of questions on what the Peace Treaty is, and I've explained it several times now, and hopefully people will get it. What are the pros and cons of religion teaching? Well, the only pro to it is some of the moralistic writing is beneficial, but essentially you operate under the golden rule. As for all of the rest, I think Tuesday's show showed you exactly where and what religion is. And if people want to continue it, they're compliant in child sacrifice, in my opinion. I know that sounds harsh, but that's what these people with these religions have been doing. And no, perhaps I better stop there. I'll have more on that in an op-ed piece when I cover slightly about the show on Tuesday. How does the deep state keep the markets afloat when they have no access to free money? It's all an illusion, that's why. And some people decide to bet on it and keep it going, liquidity, when everyone should pull out of it and let it sink. It's all an illusion. Is the team equally active ongoing with other major governments in the top global power structures? I presume you're talking about the Man of World Holding Trust. Yes, we are. Which ones? We're not talking about, because those the minute you mention names, those people get killed or threatened. Is the criminal cabal pilfering all countries' bank accounts, i.e. Latin America, Commonwealth countries, EU, Russian, Asian, African, or only USA Inc.? All. They had backdoors in every single bank all around the planet. I must have answered this question about... I wish people would pay more attention to the questions I've answered. I'd like to know more about orgone. I've covered that several times in several shows. Some people say it works, some people say it doesn't. Depends on the individual. Is Russia still under Soviet control? No, it's under Jewish control and has been since 1919. And is Putin just another one of the dark ones? Initially he was. I wouldn't say he's fully clean now either. He could have, like Trump, should have made far more changes by now, in my opinion. They has done a lot for the Russian people, but he wanted to be king of the world, and that failed. But maybe it's better to be king of the people. But Putin, like Trump, is dealing with deep state. There's a deep state in Russia. There's a deep state in China. It has a lot of enforcement, which is something we don't have in full at the moment. So they step out of line, the deep state shoots them. And that's part of the problem at the moment. Brexit seems a mess at this time, however, as being a fellow Brit, can or will Britain be able to economically make its own way? Yeah, all countries can make their own way when there's less central interfering. Britain has a choice. There are funds for Britain should it step down out of the Rothschilds et al. System and the Dragon Group system. There'll be funds for Britain to run autonomous and sovereign again. But at the moment, the goons are running the country at the moment, as you can see with the opening piece tonight with Kevin Annett. CIA comes calling to MI5 and suddenly they're threatening. Will the other UK countries go their own way or go along with Britain? Ireland won't, because Ireland thinks it has to go separate to Britain on everything, because Britain's to blame for everything. That's Southern Ireland. Northern Ireland has some issues over it, but then Northern Ireland kind of got... If anyone has the complaint between the two Irish, North and South, it's Northern Irish people, because they got roped into it because of Northern Ireland's on certain minerals. It has an important dock. But it's, blaming a whole country for it. When I blame the Dutch for what happened in Ireland, I'm blaming the House of Orange, not the Dutch people. And this is where people get all too defensive. Oh, he's attacking my country. No. Is spirituality just another form of looshing? Not when it's done inward, it's not. Spirituality means going inside of yourself. So if you're doing it properly, how can you become a loose battery? Because everything's going inward, whereas religion is external. Something's outside of you, something's higher than you, etc., etc., etc. It's all illusion. Spirituality is being in touch within and of yourself. It ends the illusion. Like being 45, 55. Are spirit guides a psyop? I'll leave that question to next week. I think I'm kind of running. Is Trump still being leveraged? In a way, yes. If so, what leverage is being used? That's operational. I'm not answering those type of questions. What does RMV mean? Stupidity. Real meaning, a currency revaluation, a reset of all the currencies, which the dollar will go down to about 20% of its current value, so they can crash the whole country, which is what we've been telling people. Any info to share on the dark, deep web? Not really. I'm not a proponent on it, and I don't go on it either. Knowledge or even possible ending. Can I do something else against this? Just don't go on it. If everyone stopped going on it, it's making a difference if it exists or it doesn't, does it? Last question. Supposing USA Inc. is formally dissolved and sovereignty is claimed, there is a debate regarding what will immediately happen and what will be up to us to push for after. I did a full piece on the ideas around sovereignty about 2 months ago. Memory serves me correctly. It'll be in the transcripts of all the details of what it entails and what will happen or what should happen and how things will go once sovereignty is announced and what will change.